Oh, that's interesting. Oh, it's 5 o'clock.
It is, and we are live, although I don't have video yet, so
Okay.
bear with
Video of.
us.
All
Okay.
right. There we go. This has been fun, huh, Steve?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This is yeah, things are a little bit hectic here. I accidentally recorded an extra chit chat at about 1 o'clock, was it? And then I got on with Bart and did security bits, and then we took a little break at about 2, and then we were on till 3, no, till 4 doing chit chat, doing security, or doing programming by stealth. And now I've just finished writing the show notes. So yeah, Security Bits is not posted, but it will be part of this show, which means I should remember to actually do Security Bits. Oh, and I have a big edit point I have to do too. Oh, this is going to go great.
I'm sure it will.
We should probably start sooner rather than later. I did shove up the draft, Steve, but I expect there to be changes.
Okay.
It won't show under blog posts, though. I might need to hit that for you. Or you just look in the
I look for blog
you look
posts.
in the drafts anyway, right?
Yes.
Oh. Oh. Sorry, guys. Forgot to come into the live show or into the audio in Discord. Can you hear me now?
My audio in Discord is there.
Yes, it is, because I hear you twice now.
Sandy says she can hear me. All right. And you can hear me, apparently.
I can hear two of you, so I'm going to turn you off here.
All right.
Okay, talk to me.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, good. I hear you once.
Excellent. I
That's
hear you
wonderful. All right.
Let's see.
So, hello. Unfortunately, we don't have our two masters of ceremony today. We do not have Rose, or Rose may be late, but Kevin is not going to be able to make it. So, Sandy, I'm going to need you to stand in for Rose. Is Brett here? I don't see Brett. So, who's next in command, Steve, after Brett?
Well, I think we
Is
should
that
give it to
Wheels?
Rick. Well, no, I think we
Rick?
should give it to Rick. He's
All right. You were this close to making the cut, Frank. So close.
next time, Frank.
All right. Maybe next time. All right. So, Rick Cartwright's taken over?
Yes.
Do you understand your responsibilities as wingman?
Refresh, Frank. It's on.
All right. Maybe you need to show them. If you want to read your responsibilities, go to podfeet.com/wingman. That's where that's all located. All right. So let's see. We've got Steve and Ian, and let's see. Dorothy's in the house, and John and Rick, Sandy and Frank. All right. It's probably good that it's a smaller crowd, because I suspect
It's going to go
nefarious
ugly.
things to be happening here. Yeah.
It may not
All
be
right, who's
pretty.
You know, I have got to figure out how to get Telegram to not or to obey Do Not Disturb,
Is that possible?
because it's still sending me messages. Yeah, it just gave me a ding just now, and I'm in Do Not Disturb everywhere. All right, where's my
Yes.
preview? There it is. Here we go. All right. Let's see. I'm not allowed to put the audio in anymore. That really bugs me. I loved having the audio in there, but I'm not allowed to do that. All right. I'm gonna jet right in. All right. Muting Steve. Where's Steve there? Okay. Nope. Cannot support empty session. That's awesome. What does that mean? Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, August 12th, 2018, and this is show number 692. Well, this is going to be a little bit of a crazy episode for us here. Bart needed us to slip security bits and chit chat across the pond to this afternoon. So Sunday at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, we did 2 recordings, neither of which I've posted, neither of which I've been able to edit yet. And I also sort of accidentally recorded an extra chit chat across the pond at 1 o'clock, and I don't even know when I'm going to send that. It was an accidental episode, but it's a really good episode, so look forward to that. But anyway, let's kick into gear here. So like I said, this week's chit chat was recorded just an hour ago. It was Bart Buchatz with Programming by Stealth, installment 60 of X. In this episode, we take our first baby steps towards learning to fold JavaScript into Bootstrap. I got to tell you, I had to dust off some very dusty brain cells in this episode, even though it was a tiny little bitty lesson. We had fun making buttons that put up alerts and dismiss them, and that really helped me visualize what we were doing, but the JavaScript is really rough for me. So I'm going to have to do a little practice to check up. Anyway, check out this episode in your podcatcher of choice under Programming by Stealth or the full Chit Chat Across the Pond feed. All right, I'm hearing a lot of static on here. I think I have this too high. NCEP. I think I normally go down to... Do I sound a little too loud, Steve?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I just turned you back on.
Okay. No, you don't sound very loud to me, but
okay.
I see Vectornator Pro in your list, in your lineup, and I thought you did that last week, or did you postpone that?
No, I did. I'm just going to talk about the fact that it was Screencast Online.
Oh, okay.
So I did a Vectornator Pro like a month ago or whatever. Yeah, this is just plugging my stuff.
And you didn't... Okay.
Let me hear how...
But you referred to it as a blog post in your write-up here.
Yes. It's a blog post that has a video on it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you did. Let me go check that.
Okay. I'm going to listen while you do that. Hi, this is Allison. It's too loud. Too loud. Bring it down. All right. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, August 12th, 2018, and this is show number 692. Oh, nailed it!
Nicely
nailed
done.
It.
Yeah, you did do Vectornator Pro video on Screencast Online last week.
I did.
August 5th.
Really? Okay.
I assume it's the same one. There's only one blog post on that, right?
Yeah, it's about it being on Screencast Online?
Yes, that's what the title is.
Okay.
Here.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Okay, I'm not going to do a chapter mark yet. Rick is leading 1-0. Did he tell me to... Oh, save now. I hear Steve commands it. Oh, nice. Nice. I like it.
By the way, Kevin does give his best to the chat room, everyone here. He wishes he...
Muting Steve. Oh, sorry, Steve. Muted you. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead and finish.
One of us mute. I just wanted to say he wishes everyone the best here. He wishes he could be here. Okay, right. Mute.
God. Okay, there we go. All right. Last week's lesson on how to size batteries was evidently a little bit rough for some people. I think David Roth put it best when he wrote in our Facebook group about it. He wrote, I gather the podcast listenership had grown too big, so this piece was designed to eliminate the non-engineers. Well, I'm sorry, David, if it was too hard for you. Okay, fine. I realized I could have given you pretty much 3 simple steps to size an AC battery for your Mac laptop. Are you ready? First, download the free Mac Tracker app from mactracker.ca for Mac or iOS. In Mac Tracker, find your Mac's battery in watt-hours. Step 3, divide your Mac's battery in watt-hours by 0.72. The result of that equation will be how big of an AC battery you need to charge your Mac at least once. There, David, Are you happy now? Okay.
Little cleanup.
Zappery. Oh, TJ's here.
TJ.
Cleanup.
Welcome. Well, cleanup.
TJ says there's somebody named Zappery. Hi, Zappery.
Zappery, welcome. Glad you could join
Is
us.
Zappery new? All right.
We're talking radio wheels.
What? Oh. Let's see. Mac Ollie. You can talk, Steve.
Oh, can I? Sometimes I want to put it in the chat room in case the person is not listening.
Oh, is not listening?
That has happened.
Really?
Yeah.
People who just like to chat? Or just like to
well,
read.
Or they're having trouble with the audio and the video, but they're in the chat room. It happens.
Oh, okay.
Occasionally.
All right. I'm feeling this one starts out wrong. Did I rewrite the beginning? Okay. All right. Here we go. I'm muting you. Goodbye. Okay, one more time. There we go. Got it. I was originally going to tell you about this next one last week, but it seemed like last week got pretty thick with the whole charging from batteries topic. But since we are on the topic, I'd like to tell you about the Mac Alley MacBook Pro charger. Now let's start with the problem be solved, okay? Apple ships the new 13-inch MacBooks Pro with a 61-watt power adapter that charges the laptop over USB-C. It comes with a USB-C cable, but they do not include the extension cord any longer. The extension cord is handy to give you more cable length, of course, but it also separates the charger block from your power source so it doesn't hog up all the space on the outlet. Now, as Rob Dunwood would say, Apple charges a grip for the replacement MacBook Pro adapter. It's $69 US, and like I said, not like I said. Oh. Take that again from there. Now, split, get rid of that. Now, as Rob Dunn would say, Apple charges a grip for the replacement MacBook Pro adapter. It's $69 US, and it doesn't come with that extension cord, but it doesn't even come with the USB-C cable for $69. If you actually want to plug it in, you're going to need a spring for at least the $19 USB-C cable, or buy it from a third party, and another $19 if you want or need the extension cable. That brings your grand total to $107 to replace your charger. Walking up and down those stairs to go get your power adapter is sounding pretty good at that price. What? Maybe you want to get a second power adapter so that you don't have to have one. Nothing's flowing. Nothing's flowing. Start over. There you go. Maybe you wanted to get a second adapter so that you didn't have to run up and down the stairs, but for $107, going up and down those stairs is sounding pretty good at that price. Plus, you know what? You get exercise on your Apple Watch, so maybe you never bought a spare adapter. But who amongst us hasn't wished for that second power adapter to keep in our travel bag, or like I said, to use downstairs while watching TV? Also, how many of you wish you had a MagSafe connector like the good old days? USB-C charging has a ton of advantages, one of them being third parties can make power adapters since there is no longer a proprietary connector involved. But you know, that MagSafe sure did save a lot of laptops. We all loved it. Well, not everybody, but a lot of us did. I received a USB-C cable with a magnetic connector a while back, and it was so bad I returned it to the company with an explanation of how they could do better, and I even tracked them down at CES to tell them what I didn't like about it so they would get a lot of good feedback and hopefully improve it someday. But now let me tell you about the Mac Alley MacBook Pro charger with magnetic USB-C cable. I received one of these as a review unit from Mac Alley, and I have to say I'm pretty taken with it. As with all Mac Alley products, the design is beautiful. It's a bit bigger than, say, 4 by 3 by 1 inch, think palm of your hand size, and it reminds me of a tiny version of the old Power Mac G5 tower. It has brushed metal case with indentations that look like the handles on the old G5. It comes with the extension cable and the USB-C cable for the same $69 Apple charges for just the charger block. So we have a win for the money right there. The Mac Alley adapter is a bit lighter, weighing in at 12.3 ounces versus Apple's at 13.4 ounces. I don't think that's enough to make a difference, especially since I carry a 1.9-pound battery now, but at least it's not heavier. The magnetic USB-C cable is really interesting. One end is a standard USB-C connector, but the other end is non-standard. The end that goes into your Mac has a tiny adapter piece that's USB-C on one side, and it connects magnetically to the cable side. But keep in mind that it can't just be a magnetic connection, it has to pass the signals and power through as well. I'm going to try to describe the pinouts on this connection because it's really different from anything I've ever seen before. If it's confusing, don't worry about it. I've included a macro shot of it in the show notes so that you could see it. I just noticed a typo. And Steve, did you want me to be showing this off while we're chatting?
Yeah, you may have showed that last week or no? No, you didn't do the post, but is this the one you postponed?
Yes.
So
did I show it to you guys already?
I can go get it again. Hold on.
All right. I'll hold around. Cute is a major selling point, huh? This is the, let me just give you this picture here. This is the connector I'm trying to describe. Yeah, I do remember holding it up, but maybe somebody wasn't here. Oh. The new person left. Did we scare them off? Did we actually show you this last week? It's awfully bright.
I think you might have shown it, and you were going to do the post, but...
Yeah, because, there's USB-C on one end, and then on the other end, it's a standard, kind of looking power adapter for that end.
So I was telling the people, Sandy asked about, or maybe you get into this, whether it works with a 15-inch well. I know it works with a 13-inch MacBook Pro well. It helped me a lot.
Yeah, it actually did the job, but I
think it was.
I'm not really clear on whether or not we're allowed to do it.
Allowed meaning
whether we're supposed to use a smaller charger.
Oh, because it doesn't provide as much current. Oh, you got to get going.
Yeah, so I mean it worked. Mm-hmm. It did charge my laptop.
Probably at a slower
I forget
rate.
if I say anything about it or not.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to keep going because I'm nervous. But again, I'm going to try to describe that to you. The wire side has 7 pins. The top row is 2 large round-headed gold pins, while the second row has 3 smaller rounded pins and then 2 larger round pins. Doesn't make any sense. The 2 large pins on the top row are above the 3 small ones on the second row with blank space next to them. So it's kind of this offset, 2 and then 5 on the bottom, but the 5 on the bottom are 2 big ones and 3 little ones. The adapter side, though, has 2 rows of connection points that I'm going to call pins, but both rows have 3 pins that are flush to the surface and 2 pins that are essentially indentations into the gold. The 2 rows are flipped from each other, so the upper row is 3 flush and 2 indents, while the row below is 2 indents and 3 flush. Does that make any sense? Anyway, the magic of this odd pin configuration that I'm trying to describe is that you can flip the magnetic connector around either way, and it always works. I was a little worried at first that one of the great joys of USB-C being reversible would be lost, but it is not. You can put the magnetic adapter on either way. Now, a magnetic connection's value is determined by the delicate balance of how well it holds on when it should, and whether it disconnects when required to avoid accidental damage to your laptop. I have to say that the magnetic connector in the Mac Alley cable is pretty strong, and yet did come out when I pulled on it at an angle. I did find a few cases where it disconnected, and I'll let you decide if this is what you would want to do. I was testing the device sitting in bed with my... What does "this is what you would want to do" mean? That doesn't make any sense.
What is this referring to?
I did a few cases where it disconnected, and I'll let you decide if this is what you would want it to do. Oh, you would want it to do. Not want to do. All right. I did find a few. Okay. I'm going to reword that. I did find a few cases where it disconnected on me, and I'll let you decide whether it was appropriate that it disconnected or not. I was testing the device sitting in bed with my MacBook Pro, and as it sank into the pillow on which it was resting, the connector broke loose. I'm not sure if that counts as a failure, as my conditions were putting stress on that connection. Another time, I picked up the adapter to look at it when I was trying to think of how to describe it, and I didn't notice that I had pulled on the USB-C connection. A few minutes later, I noticed that my Mac was not charging. Sure enough, it had popped off. Again, that's probably what it should have done. The old MagSafe connectors had a green LED indicator power light that indicated that power was passing through them, which was a pretty nice feature. But with the MacAllie cable, you have to rely on the battery indicator in your menu bar or look at the connector because it's kind of obvious when it's been knocked out. You do also notice the sound when you plug it back in, but that doesn't give you a sound when it gets knocked out. I guarantee that you will pull the cable out and forget the little magnetic piece plugged into your USB-C port. I did it, I think, about 25 times while I was testing. It's not the easiest thing to pull out because it's quite tiny and short, so gripping it is a little bit troublesome. When you pull on the cable, you can't pull straight out and get the adapter to come out with it either. You have to kind of pull with your fingers, grabbing the adapter piece at the same time. It's definitely not a deal breaker, and I think I could get used to doing it that way if I use this device as my daily driver. If you were to lose the magnetic USB-C end, this cable becomes worthless. You'd eventually figure out which computer you left it plugged into, and it's not going to fall out of it, but it's a caution to stay vigilant when unplugging this cable. I'd like to see MacAllie offer replacement magnetic USB-C adapters on the website, but they do not have them available just yet. They are going to start selling this cable on its own, which is pretty cool because you'd be able to use it with your Apple adapter or any other power adapter you might buy and still get the benefits of having a magnetic connector. On the flip side, there's nothing proprietary about this cable with its magnetic USB-C adapter that would preclude you from using it on any USB-C device. I mean, you could use it on a Google Pixel phone if you had one, or any other kind of USB-C powered device, I should say. I like the MacAllie MacBook Pro charger with magnetic USB-C very much, and I can definitely recommend it as a spare power adapter for your 13-inch MacBook Pro or other devices requiring 61 watts of power. That said, I gave it a whirl on my 87-watt hungry 15-inch MacBook Pro, and it even charged my Mac from 17% to 100%. It didn't seem as snappy as a full-size charger, but I was pretty exhausted from all the testing I'd done the previous week, and I didn't do any rigorous timing tests on it. I've read a lot and discussed with my resident electrical engineer, Steve, about what harm can come from using a lower-powered adapter with the device. It seems that the Mac, or possibly the power adapter, has circuitry inside which will protect itself from damage by using a lower-powered charger, but I haven't ever been able to find a definitive answer on whether the charger might damage itself trying to supply my power-hungry Mac. Like I said, I've researched this a lot, and I can't find the definitive answer on this. I believe, like many things in the electrical engineering field, it depends. And again, that's why I'm a mechanical engineer. Now, sadly, after Steve read this review, he promptly took the Mac charger away from me, and he put it in his backpack. Yeah, apparently I did do the stuff about my Mac. Oh.
What did you do about your Mac?
Now. I just read the whole thing about charging my Big Mac with it.
I wasn't listening. What's the bottom line?
I am not going to read the whole thing again. Come on.
All right. I guess I should listen. Oh, Rick's on top of it. Save.
What's he saying? Save now. Master Steve commands it. Wingman John. So Rick has his own wingman now?
Well, he's at least acting wingman.
Is it okay? So NASA Nut is your wingman?
No, Rick.
Yeah,
is.
It did work with my 15-inch.
I guess John is acting. Wait, we got multiple acting.
No, I think Rick. Oh my God, are you guys all wingmen? Is that what's happened?
This
is not group. Good.
Yeah, it's a full.
All right, now we're gonna get nerdy talking about Excel.
Maybe a squadron.
Okay, let's see. Oh, no, I need that. preview. Now, did I need to do... I need to do a chapter marker, don't I? Excel, numbers, and elapsed time. This is going to be fun. What are you typing?
Oh,
manifesto over there.
Replying to manifesto. Yes, a manifesto in the chat room. Responding to Sandy about charging the 15-inch.
Thunderbirds are go.
Whoa.
Oh, no. John is a Thunderbirds fan, too?
Excellent. Oh, I love the Thunderbirds. Thunderbird XL5.
Steve, you should, you need to show John what you did. At some point, you should point your camera to the left of your monitor.
Oh, you think I should do that?
Do you want to do it right now?
Here.
Watch this. You guys are just going to be amazed.
This is for John. Well, and me too.
Well, everybody might appreciate it.
Check it out. A Saturn V escaping Earth's orbit. Well, escaping.
And it's a little model he made himself. Wait, show him what the picture is behind it.
Oh, yeah. Let's see if my line will reach out.
How far is your cable? Let's just see if we can ruin this.
Check out Rockets of the World. And the big bad boy in the lower right, the Saturn V. By the way, this Russian one, I don't think ever had a successful launch. It tried at least once, but I don't think it worked.
Okay, Steve. Are you ready? Are you okay? Okay, I just thought you guys would enjoy that. I am going to mute Steve, and you guys can talk about that. You all know that I'm a huge fan of Excel. I mean, seriously, nothing is as fun as getting a pivot table to turn a giant pile of data into actionable information, or creating a graph that tells a story about your data. Heck, just this week, Michael Werner was stuck on a tricky Excel problem and came to me for help, and I spent half a day working on it just for the fun of it. I cracked the code, and I was pretty proud of my little self. But I feel compelled to admit I haven't really enjoyed the Office 365 version of Excel. It's slow and clumsy to me. Every time I open Excel, a few minutes after I open a file, or even start an empty file, I get a spinning beach ball for about 15 seconds. I have no idea why or how to stop it. It isn't triggered by the same event, but rather pretty much the same time frame after I open a new file. So, I don't know, I've been looking over at numbers and wondering if I'd be happier there. I gotta say, I feel like I should like numbers, so I keep giving it this try. Every time I do, though, I find things I don't like about it. Some of it is just not being familiar with the interface, and I'll concede that, but some of it is just plain poor design, in my opinion. Let's see if you agree with my opinion. When I was working on the data I collected for my battery tests, I figured I'd give numbers another whirl. I had a good reason. There's one thing numbers can do easily that seems to confound Excel, and that's calculating elapsed time. Why does that say Excel dot? Jeez. Okay, there we go. Okay, I gotta make sure I remember to send everything to, all right, but I didn't do that. Okay. Time. And that's calculating elapsed time. For example, let's say you have a timestamp at 1:15 p.m. and another one at 3:15 p.m. The elapsed time between them is 2 hours. In Excel, if you subtract the two values, you get 2 a.m. instead of 2 hours. In a way, that makes a little bit of sense. Excel assumes the same time format for the calculated value as the cells it's referencing. Instead of setting the calculated value to be formatted, say, as an integer, it sets it as a time value. A 12-hour clock starts at 0 at midnight, so 2 hours after that would be 2 a.m. Let's take this a bit further to make sure you understand why just saying 2 a.m. is a bad thing. If I wanted to multiply the elapsed time by 20, I should get 2 times 20 is 40 hours, right? But if I take this elapsed time calculated by Excel of 2 a.m. and I multiply it by 20, I get 4 p.m. Now that's because 40 o'clock is 40 minus 24, also known as 16, which is also known as 4 p.m., 1600 hours. Now, where possibly there's some logic to this, it doesn't make it at all useful for calculating elapsed time, especially if you want to graph it. In my battery charge work, I wanted to know how much time had elapsed between when I started the test at 6:38 a.m. and when it ended at 8:17 a.m. Now, I could have counted on my little fingers, but that's wrought with danger because of elementary arithmetic is my downfall. If you don't believe me, look up new math in Wikipedia to understand why. I also wanted to graph the shape of the curve of the charging percentages. And since I didn't take data points at precise intervals, or consistent intervals, I should say, I was going to need the time between each data point to be calculated for me. Turns out Numbers does this without any problem at all. If you ask the time between 6:38 a.m. and 8:17 a.m., it'll say 99 minutes. Easy peasy. Excel thinks it's 1:39 a.m., which is super helpful. So far, Numbers is looking like the way to go for this task. Before trying to graph data like this, it's important to consider what kind of chart you're going to need. If I'd been rigorous and taken data points at exactly 5-minute intervals for an hour and a half, I could have chosen a regular line graph in order to demonstrate the data. But since my data points are at random intervals of time, a regular line graph would put each data point at the same distance apart along the x-axis. That would be a graph with big discontinuities instead of making a nice smooth curve that represents the reality of the battery as it charges. A better chart format for this kind of data is called a scatter chart. A scatter chart in any spreadsheet application will make sure that the charted points on the graph are at representative distances along the x-axis. For example, my first two data points were nearly an hour apart, but the second and third data points were only 6 minutes apart. On the x-axis, the first two data points should be 10 times farther apart as the second two. On a scatter chart, they are. On a regular line chart, they're the same distance apart. So it's pretty easy to create a scatter chart in Numbers. It's easy in Excel too. It's important to format your titles and lines properly, or it'll be hard to tell the story you're trying to tell. In my battery test charging example with the Jackery, I wanted to graph not just the increasing charge level of the Mac, but also the discharge rate of the Jackery. Plotting them both on the same graph was pretty simple, but that's when things started to go awry. First of all, after being so excited about how Numbers could calculate elapsed time, I then noticed that instead of giving me a column of purely minutes, some of the higher values had both hours and minutes in the elapsed time. This required a trip to the format panel, which is the thing I hate most about Numbers. One of its greatest strengths is how this panel is contextual, meaning that it'll offer you the changes depending on the... fumble. All right, I'm going to save. Do you mean APFS, Sandy? AFS. Apple. One of its greatest strengths is... Yeah, good. There we go. One of its greatest strengths. One of its greatest strengths is how this panel is contextual, meaning that what it offers you changes depending on the cells you have selected. That's also one of its greatest challenges for me. I find myself hunting for panels I swear I've seen before, but they seem to have disappeared from the interface. For example, if you click in a cell formatted for regular time, the cell panel within Format will show pull-downs for data format, followed by fill color and borders. But if you select one of these cells that shows hours and minutes of elapsed time, the cell panel will now reveal data formats set to duration, but right under that are two entirely new options, automatic units and custom units. I'd never seen those before. If you choose custom units, instead of writing out a super geeky formula to explain the units like in Excel, you'll see a series of what turns out to be toggle buttons for week, day, hour, minute, second, and millisecond. I was able to toggle off the hour button, and immediately my column of elapsed time was all in minutes instead of hours and minutes. I'm not saying this is a bad way to do the panels. It's just very confusing to me that menu items appear and disappear depending on what values you have selected and the format of those values. One of the reasons I wrote this up is because I am certain that a few months from now, I'll be staring at this panel thinking, I swear there were buttons to turn off the hours. And now I have this handy reference blog post to find out what I did. All right, now that we have the data in the right format, let's get back to our chart. When we first drop in the scatter chart, it looks like they've promised on the tin. It's a scatter of dots in a rectangle telling hardly any story at all. Now, my data points at the beginning are so far apart that I actually thought something was wrong with my data because the graph just looked really stupid. There were 2 dots way over on the left and then nothing for a real long time and a bunch of little dots real close together later. To improve comprehension of the data by the viewer, we need to add what's called a trend line. In Numbers, you click on a data point and then select the Series tab and Format. Next, you choose the type of trend line. I'm a fan of the second-order polynomial trend. Oh, come on, you can't make that joke and then stumble it. Let's see. Now why am I so fumbly today? I've been on the air too long. I'm a fan of the second-order polynomial trend lines, but, that might just be me. So far, most of the interface things I've described aren't that bad. They're just unfamiliar to me. But let's get down to the bad parts, okay? The real idiocy of numbers comes into play when you try to modify the axes on a chart. I think I complained about this years ago, but it's worth a revisit because it's so stupid. I'm going to do it by example. My data goes from 0 minutes to 99 minutes on the x-axis for time. I think it is reasonable to have the maximum tick mark to be at 100 minutes and have tick marks every 10 minutes. This is not possible to do in Numbers, at least as far as I can find. When Numbers first plotted my data, the x-axis went from 0 to 115 minutes, not 100, with numbers along the x-axis at 28.75 minutes, 57.5 minutes, and 86.25 minutes. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to pick. Jeez. Well, to try to find the underlying logic of this, let's take a quick trip to the Axis tab in Format. With the value with the value X tab selected, we see the X-axis scale is set to linear. And, I like a logarithmic scale as much as the next girl, but let's keep it at linear. Below that, we have 2 columns of options. All we're trying to do is set the scale of the X-axis. I could, in theory, change the max scale value for the X-axis to 100. It was right there. Little field. What's the max you want? I typed in 100. Well, where I typed it, it said auto in gray. I assumed it would accept a new value because it did let me type it. I typed in 100 for the max, but when I hit the tab key to move to the next field, I was treated to the Mac OS sound effect funk. That annoying bonk that tells you that you have in some way misbehaved. At first I thought I was maybe accidentally I hit a comma or some invalid value, so I typed in 100 yet again. Bonk. Why? I never got the answer to that question. I had to leave the max scale value at 115 minutes, which looks super dumb and confusing. All right, let's just move along. We'll try to solve the second problem. The tick values along that x-axis were very odd, as you'll recall, 28.75, 57.5, and 86.25 minutes. In the second column of the formatting under axis scale, we can set the number of steps on the axis. Well, steps was defaulted to 4, and the arbitrary max it wouldn't let me change was 115. 115 divided by 4 is 28.75, the same stupid number along the scale. All right, in a program written by sane people, you would not define the number of steps. You would just set the values for the major and minor tick marks, say, every 10 minutes. But no, I have to do actual arithmetic in order to figure out how to make this scale make any sense at all. I didn't want to do arithmetic, so instead I used the up arrow they provided to make it 5 steps. 115 minutes max divided by 5 is 23 minutes. All right, well, it wasn't quite as ugly as the other values, but that wasn't really what I wanted to show. Next, I tried 6 steps. 6 into 115 turns out to be a repeating decimal, 19.166666667. But instead of displaying 6 numbers along the axis, when I told it to give me 6 values, 6 steps, it only showed me 3. It took me a long time to figure out what was going wrong here. Because of the size of this repeating decimal, the number of digits it showed, instead of truncating it to, say, 2 digits, like 19.17, they showed a ton of digits, and they just chose, I guess we won't display every other value. That's why I got 3 instead of 6, because the numbers were too long. This was so stupid, I recorded it in a little video so I could show it to Stephen Getz. Again, idiotic. I finally resorted to doing the math. I really wanted steps every 10 minutes, but since 115 isn't divisible by 10, I divided by 5, which gave me 23 steps. Luckily, my font only allowed every other value to show, so I achieved my goal of getting a value on the x-axis every 10 minutes because of the size of the font. Now, does any of this sound like good use of my time? Well, I still couldn't figure out how to get that darn axis to stop at 100 the way I wanted, but I did find out that I could add in what Numbers calls a reference line. You can choose from several different values for your reference. You can put one at the average or medium, but you can also put one in at the maximum. It did not give me an end at 100 minutes, but at least it would show at 99. It's frustrating to work with an application that gets so close to usable, but then fails like Numbers inevitably does for me. I'd love it if anyone knows how to override the automatic setting for the scale of the axes and prove me wrong that this program is not idiotic. Well, after I was done with my battery blog post and I'd written up my rant about Numbers, it kept nagging at me that Excel couldn't do elapsed time. I had a vague memory in the back of my mind that there was an elaborate workaround method to do it. I figured that for completeness' sake, I should find that workaround to include it in this article. And my vague memory was that it was something like getting the numerical value for the date, because all dates have a long digit number on which you can calculate. But in researching and testing, I didn't find any way to calculate elapsed time with that number. Finally, I stumbled across a relatively easy way to get Excel to calculate elapsed time. Now, my stumbling was inspired and informed by the way Numbers lets you change the units from hours and minutes to just minutes with that unfamiliar interface I described. Let's revisit our really simple example from the beginning. We tried to find the elapsed time between 1:15 p.m. and 3:15 p.m. While Numbers knows that it's 2 hours or 120 minutes, Excel says it's 2 a.m. Here's the trick. Select the field that says 2 a.m. and then choose Format Cells, either from the menu bar or you can right-click to get to the contextual menu. This will bring up the typical number format options under Number, but with Custom as the chosen category. Since you're in a time field, it will default to something like H:MM space AM/PM. In the list of other custom formats, you'll see more of the usual suspects. You'll see things like M/D/YY or H:MM, the things we're used to seeing. But if you keep scrolling down to nearly the bottom of the custom formats, you'll see hours with square brackets around it, followed by minutes and seconds. So it's square bracket H, close square bracket, :MM:SS. That's what you're going to look for. Turns out those square brackets around the H are magical. If you change the format to that H with the square brackets, MMSS, the calculated value will change from an absolute time of 2 a.m. to say 2:00:00, otherwise known as 2 hours. If you change it to square bracket MM, it will say 120 M for minutes, just like we wanted. Now, I double-checked to make sure this formatting change really is giving us the right answer. I multiplied the 2:00:00 by 20, and I got the expected value of 40 hours instead of 4 p.m. like we had before. I immediately wrote to my friends Mike and Nancy, who I worked with for years and years and years, and we always fought with this and could never figure it out, and they were as excited as I was. Now, as much as I slam Numbers for being weird and hard to follow by logic, I think it's just as bad that the format of a number changes the inherent value of that same number in Excel. I'm delighted that I finally cracked the code, but I think this is as idiotic as anything Numbers has done. Wow, Steve, were you bored?
No, I'm very nervous right now.
Why?
iStat menus hung. I was worried I was going to get into my lockup situation, but so far it's recovered. I'm hesitant to do anything right now. I don't want to kill Mimo.
Okay, because you unmuted.
I'm unmuted now.
No, you unmuted while I was still recording.
Well, that was just a test.
It's okay.
That was a test.
Well, it worked. Oh, I'm tired of talking. I'm tired of this thing on my head.
Well, you had 3 hours plus this, right?
You
had 3 hours earlier plus this?
Yeah, the top of my head hurts.
Do you want like a towel up there? Can I get you something? Some padding? Foam rubber?
I don't have my sandy towel. Yeah, it's hot and sweaty too.
Yeah.
Okay, I tell you what. You guys in the chat room, you guys want to know a secret?
Yes.
Nobody knows.
Tell me.
Not tell anybody. But tomorrow, if it works out, I am scheduled to record Chit Chat Across the Pond with a scripting expert named Ray Robertson and Sal Segoyan.
Never heard of him.
Stop it. Sal
Some people
Segoyan.
may know Sal. So
Is that cool?
Hum a couple bars for those people that don't know Sal. Like TJ may not know him.
Sal Segoyan was the basically the guy that made Automator happen and AppleScript happen and everything like that at Apple.
Worked for Apple for many years until relatively recently.
Yeah.
Until like 2-3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, he is a rock star for automation.
Yeah. So, this is going to be relatively short. Man, my head hurts.
Literally.
And I've got a bunch of editing to do, unfortunately, with Bart. So I may sign off after doing this and then the ad.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Power through, Al. Power through. Power through. You can do it.
You can do
it. Okay. This is exciting, though. Almost a year ago, I told you how excited and honored I was to be asked to speak at Sal Segoyan's Command D conference on automation. My talk was entitled Code-Free Automation. The talks were recorded by Alex Lindsay and the Pixel Corps, and only just now have they begun to become available to the public. I am thrilled to be able to share my video of, or actually their video of me doing my code-free automation talk. Went off script and lost. But so many. But there's more to this story. The day before the conference, there was an all-day scripting boot camp instructed by Ray Robertson. It was focused on the amazing things you could do with AppleScript, which was a gap. You know what? Shoot. I'm not going to read this because if I'm successful at getting them on the show, this will be stupid. So I'm not going to read this post, but I'm going to tell you about it. The heck? Okay. Come on. There you go. Before we get stuck into security bits, I want to tell you about something that I'm really excited about. You know, almost a year ago, I told you how I was honored to be asked to speak at Sal Segoyan's Command D conference on automation. My talk was entitled Code-Free Automation. The talks at the time were recorded by Alex Lindsay and the Pixel Corps and only just now have been made available to the public. I am thrilled to be able to share my talk on code-free automation with you finally. There's a link in the show notes. You can find my code-free automation video from Command D on either under blog posts or you can look under videos and you can go watch it there. I'm super, super excited to have you guys finally be allowed to see it. Okay, there. That was better.
Big improvement.
Yeah. Well, if I wasn't going to have him on the show, I would...
say a bit more.
Yeah. So hopefully it'll work out. You never know. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it's back to school season and you might just be buying school supplies for your precious little monsters as you whisk them off to school. I decided to make life easier for you and I created a link to Amazon's back to school supplies. It's pretty cool. They've got it sorted by grades and by type of supplies. There's even a deals for back to school section. Remember, if you use those Amazon affiliate links, a small percentage may go back to help the show, and it doesn't cost you an extra dime. We thank you in advance for your support of the Podfeet podcasts. There. Did I mention my head hurts? My ear hurts? All right, entertain the crowd, Steve. Time for the
So
chip
TJ
chat
says
music.
he doesn't have any little monsters.
Oh, TJ, you're just setting yourself right up there, aren't you?
I already hit it.
I mean, you had no choice, right?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe he knew he was setting us up.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Now I'm going to take a little break here while I pull in these two files and Hindenburg figures out what they mean. Does Sal do any renovation?
Oh, good idea, Frank. Man.
Nice.
We should check that out. We'll
Actually,
have to
no,
do
I
a
should
live
introduce
show.
them as that.
Bring them over. In fact,
No, I'll introduce them as I understand you're here to talk to us about renovation.
Yeah.
I'm working on my kitchen right now, my bathroom
he
right
could take
now.
our tub out, that cast iron thing.
Oh, okay. I'm going to need some math done. 27. I need to get to 30 minutes. Oh, that'll be just 57. I should be able to do that.
What? Can you repeat what you just
Soccer
said?
dance time. I had to do math, but it turned out to be easier
It
than I
didn't
thought.
sound right, what you just said. Can you repeat?
30 and 27. Is that 57?
Oh, 30 and 27. Okay. You're good. Okay, we can say anything about her now. Everyone talk. Talk now.
I can't hear you.
Okay,
What?
stop talking.
What are you doing? All right. Now it's decoding Bart's version. It takes a long time to pull in these big stereo files.
Let's see what this looks like.
What?
I just wanted to see it pull in all the stuff.
Yeah. The problem is you can't see the upper right, even if you sized your window so you could see all of it. But
So it doesn't pull in the entire screen? Just the app?
well, you're not seeing the entire screen, but yeah, apparently it says decoding security bits, blah blah blah. You can't. That's a pop up you can't see. But you don't have this sized so that it all fits, or I don't have it sized. Let me see if I made it wider.
I don't have any sizing at all. This is the default grab the app button.
Yeah. So I think if I make mine wider, then you would see more of the menus at the top.
I do see some left menus now.
You had those before. It's that you didn't see the top of the screen, so you don't see like
is...
There, do you see the control buttons now across the top left? Those weren't there before for you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's window capture source. So there's a crop feature.
Well, no, you were cropping it.
Well, I still am. You're
I
adjusting it.
Right, but so the aspect ratio of that little corner window is like, I don't know, 16 by 9, and I had my thing at 4 by 3 or something along those lines. But as long as that thing is orange down there, I can't do anything, I think. I might be able to put the chapter mark.
Ooh.
Oh, this is bad, though. You know what I can't do?
It's blue.
I can't.
You're golden.
It is. Huh. I can't put in the blog post.
Because it's not up?
Yeah.
Well, you could go back. Just go ahead and post the NosillaCast and then later put in the link. It's not a big deal.
No, I can't post this. I have to do security bits first.
You could put the link for security bits in later. Oh, you want that to go first?
No, I can't put it in later.
So do you put the audio in?
No. There's a link. So up in the menu bar here, you see that thing that just turned blue?
Yeah.
That's where I put in the title, and then in here is where the URL title goes.
Right.
And over here's the URL, and that's how the chapter marks get in.
Oh,
so if they want the link,
you have to
the link has to exist.
Yeah, I'm saying, can you?
I could make up the name now,
right?
And make up the link.
Put a placeholder and later publish the security bits. It's bound to go wrong.
Yeah, but I gotta figure that out. It's non-trivial. I mean, that is the right answer.
Maybe you shouldn't do something new.
Yeah, hang on. Wow, those are off by a lot. I'll put that somewhere in between. Okay, so now I like that kind of. So now I have to tools, split stereo, and now it's going to analyze again. Tools, split stereo. Apparently I can do some other things. So you know what I could do? While this is going on, I could go figure out what the blog post is going to be named.
Yes.
I don't have a good memory for what I named the blog post for security bits. Send that. And I didn't change that. But Excel I changed. I sell those, and there's something wrong with my blog. It's taking forever to post. Something's going to go wrong. Okay. Oh, that's good. Yep. That's great. Now my code-free automation is up there twice.
Oh, lovely.
Can you see... Can you go into the WordPress interface while I'm working on this and tell me whether you see 2 copies of my code-free automation video?
Okay.
This is a mess. Okay. So I've got security bits here. What do I normally call security bits? That's why I can't ever remember. I came up with a naming convention. Oh, it's got to have the names of what we talked about in it. Okay. Security bits.
I see code-free automation just once, unless you did it more than a week ago.
That's a miracle. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, so this is web authn. This is going to be like paint dry Reddit breach. Did you change your password yet? Now you've been busy.
Yes. Remember I told you. I joined after the breach.
Yeah.
Probably should do it just in case.
You don't have 2-factor authentication. It's okay. You probably don't care much about your Reddit response.
No, I do,
right?
but they recommend you change it anyway.
Let's see. Pentagon says no GPS. All right. Security. You know what? We're not going to have many tags. Security bits. That's all you're getting. And is that thing done yet? Blog post, security bits, send a blog. Okay. Let's hear how this sounds while we do that. What's that time of the week again? It's
Ooh. Man.
That one.
Some like big haul.
This is me. That's Bart. That's Bart. That's me. What the heck just happened?
Don't know. You got me.
I don't know. I didn't delete what I thought I was deleting. Okay, let's go to... Oh, everything's slowing down now. Okay, here's my spice. Okay, that's where I meant to be. Okay, you know what? I don't think I'm doing very good, interesting video because I'm really frustrated here. So I think I'm going to cut us off because I'm just frustrated. I think it would be better. Don't you think, Steve?
Yeah. Yeah, plus you want to do that blog post. Or is that what you're doing?
Yeah, and I'm more error prone if I keep trying to be entertaining. And I could turn on the air conditioning and I could take my headphones off. Save before something grows wrong. There
excellent, Rick.
And we all grow
Rick
old, including TJ and Con. Wait, TJ and Con? Con's going to grow old too?
No, we're kind of... there's a long history. I'll bring you up to speed.
Yeah,
later.
why was Con being...
I quoted a line from Wrath of Khan.
And that caused Frank to go out of his mind.
We were talking about old age, growing old, feeling old, all that. And then I brought up this line about feeling young to try and lighten it up, but I don't know, didn't work.
Okay. I think I'm going to call it. It's 5:59. Well, right. I forgot to kiss Rose goodbye, but I'll kiss you all goodbye now. Say goodbye, Steve.
Good night, Gracie.